All right. We are reading the Book of Giants. Cat is first. I feel like this is cutting out. Maybe I'm not being loud enough. David, evening Bible brains. I had a good day. No dog, wildcat, hog, or cow bites today. Tonight's going to be good. Love y'all. Is that a good day? No bites? 0 bites? I feel like bites make a good day. I got a real good bite the other day, and my leg is bruised and discolored and lovely. It's lovely because there's learning there, you know? I learned something. The animal learned something. Beautiful time. Everybody's happy. Everybody's better for it, I would say. Oh, come on. There. I think Discord is open. Yes, we should be good. So I'm hard out at 7 o'clock for some family time, but we should be able to do a good amount still. If you're watching this later, we have a Discord. There's a link to the Discord pinned at the top of the live chat. There's a link to the Discord in the description of the video. It is free. It will always be free. It's just a bunch of people who like studying weird old stuff and are basically heretical, and it's a good thing. We do a number of these live streams every week. Every Thursday is something non-canonical out of the Apocrypha. Most of the time, not always. We read some Mesopotamian stuff, but it's old stuff that's not the Bible, basically. That's every Thursday on this channel at Live Bible Study. Saturday, when I can swing it, we're reading also non-canonical stuff. Should be good for this Saturday to start the Gospel of Judas, which is very good stuff. Sunday is the Canon with the Book of Job. And then Tuesday is a live topic discussion that I haven't done the poll for. I'm just realizing. So we will run another poll. Last week we did the names of God. That was real interesting. Heavy on the detail. So a bit dry, but good in my opinion. But I'm also a geek when it comes to this kind of stuff. So maybe I'm not the best. Great bite philosophy. What is that? Even the one bite I got from my largest snake was a good bite. Really hurt my feelings though. I'll be honest. Yeah, it's not the best for the feelings, but it's good for other stuff, I guess. So, chapter 75 in Enoch / the Book of Giants. Get this out of my ears so I don't lose my mind. Okay. Chapter 75, and the leaders of the heads of the 10,000 who are in charge of the whole creation and over all the stars have also to do with the 4 days of the year, which are not counted in the yearly calendar, being not separated from their office according to the reckoning of the year, and these render service on the 4 days, which are not counted in the reckoning of the year. And because of them, men go wrong in them. For those luminaries truly render service to the stations of the world. One in the first door, one in the third door of heaven, one in the fourth door, and one in the sixth door. And the exactness of the year is accomplished through its separate 364 stations. For the signs and the times and the years and the days, the angel Uriel showed to me, whom the Lord of glory hath set for every over all the luminaries of heaven, ghost in heaven, in the world, that they should rule on the face of heaven and be seen on the earth, and be leaders for the day via the sun and the night via the moon, and the stars and all the ministering creatures which make their revolution in all the chariots of heaven. In like manner, 12 doors Uriel showed me, opened in the sphere or disk of the sun's chariot in heaven, through which the rays of the sun break out, and from them is warmth diffused over the earth when they are open at their appointed seasons. And there are openings for the wind and the spirit of dew, that when they are open, stand open in heaven at the ends of the earth. Hey, Tampa. As for the 12 doors in heaven, at the ends of the earth, out of which go out the sun, moon, and stars, and all the works of heaven. In the east and in the west, there are many windows open to the left and right of them. And one window at its appointed season produces warmth, corresponding to the doors from which the stars come out as he has commanded them, and in which they are set, corresponding to their number. And I saw chariots in heaven, running in the world, above those doors in which the stars that never set. And one is larger than all the rest, and it is that makes its course through the entire world. At the ends of the earth I saw 12 doors, open to all quarters of heaven, from which the winds go out and blow over the earth. 3 of them are open on the face of heaven, and 3 in the west, and 3 on the right of heaven, and 3 on the left. And the 3 first are those of the east, and 3 are of the north, and 3 after those on the left of the south, and 3 also of the west. Through 4 of these come winds and of blessing and prosperity or peace, and from those 8 come hurtful winds. When they are sent, they bring destruction on all the earth and the water on it, and on all who dwell on it, and on everything which is in the water, and on the land. There we go. Ghost said 12 doors like the 12 gates of the New Jerusalem Borg Cube. I feel like we pulled this up at some point. Hold on. Is there a common graphic for this? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so here's what pops up on. Was this in that chunk of graphics you put out? I don't remember. I feel like it was though, but maybe not. Interesting. These are all very different. Mysteries of New Jerusalem. This is another thing I've never spent any time on. I wonder if this is a rabbit hole worth going down. I'm just trying.
Not really, Joe.
Not really.
It's just kind of poking fun.
Okay,
Like Star Trek or what?
What is the cube?
Oh, that's from Star Trek.
Oh, it is
kind of like a joke.
Okay.
Because it resembles the way the New Jerusalem is explained.
What was what was it in Star Trek? I never watched that.
Oh, the Borg are kind of like an alien species that assimilate other cultures, and they're all kind of like a hive mind.
Ah, okay.
And they fly around in cubes.
Okay, interesting.
But wow. The New Jerusalem has 12 gates and stuff.
What do you
made me think of that?
What do you make of that in actuality, or do you?
Well, I think there are 4 quadrants in the universe, and 3 gates within each quadrant. I don't know exactly how it works, but I envision it like a brain. So,
okay,
like 4 lobes instead of 2.
And what is the source of the 4 in the theory?
The 4 living creatures. Like, I think they're all talking about the same thing, and it's described in different ways. I think the universe is the throne room, but I also think the earth is the throne room on a smaller scale, etc.
Like a fractal, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Yeah. Interesting. All right. All right. Let's see. 5, right? Yeah. And the first wind of those doors, called the east wind, comes out through the first door, which is in the east. Shocking. Inclining towards the south, from it desolate drought, heat, and destruction come out. And through the second door in the middle comes what is fitting, or right, or correct. And there come rain and fruitfulness, and prosperity and dew. And through the third door, which lies toward the north, comes cold and drought. And after these come out the south, And after these comes out the south winds through 3 doors. Through the first door of them, inclining to the east, comes out a hot wind. And through the middle door, next to it, there comes out fragrant smells, and dew and rain and prosperity and health. And through the third door, which lies to the west, dew comes out, and also rain, locusts, and desolation. And from the seventh door in the east comes out, and from the seventh door in the east comes the north winds, and dew, rain, locusts, and desolation. Is that exactly the same? Hold on. Through the third, rain, locusts, dew, and desolation. From the seventh, dew, rain, locusts, and desolation. Okay, I just want to make sure I had that correct. And from the central door come health and rain and dew and prosperity. And through the third door in the west come cloud and hoarfrost and snow and rain and dew and locusts. And after these came the 4 west winds. Through the first door adjoining the north come out dew and hoarfrost and cold and snow and frost. And from the center door come out dew and rain and prosperity and blessing. And through the last door, which adjoins the south, come drought and desolation and burning and destruction. And the 12 doors of the 4 quarters of heaven are therewith completed, and all their laws and all their plagues and all their benefactions have I shown you, my son Methuselah. I would like to see something real fast, just out of curiosity.
Oh, one thing I can add is the Earth's orbit around the sun is in a perfect circle. I theorize that it used to be, but it's not anymore. It's more like an egg shape, oblong. And I think when it's talking about droughts and hoarfrost and stuff like that, it's talking about the seasons due to the orbit of the planet around the sun. Just a theory.
I mean, that would make sense, I feel like. That would
Because
make
3
sense.
of the gates resemble summer, 3 resemble spring, winter, etc.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense to me. That's what I wanted to look and just see what initially pops up here. So says the east, blah, 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 blah. The east associated with blessings, fertility, and rising of celestial bodies such as the sun and moon. The west, where celestial bodies set, often symbolizing endings, judgment, or the passage of time. Bruh, I'll never hear those words strung together that way ever again. The passing of time. I'll never be able to hear that and not smirk. The north, connected to harsh weather, cold, and sometimes divine punishment or trials. The south, linked to warmth, rain, and life-giving forces. These quarters represent God's control over creation, showing how natural forces are directed by divine authority. They also parallel ancient Jewish and Near Eastern cosmology, where directions held spiritual significance. Interesting. Just to be clear, I just pulled that out of absolutely nowhere, and I'm not checking any of it. So take it or leave it. But interesting, at least. A lot of it was just reiteration, but there was a bit of a theory at the end, I guess. Okay, so from the center door, we read that. All right, 77. And the first quarter is called the east because it is the first, and the second the south because the Most High will descend there. From there will he who is blessed forever descend. And the west quarter is named the diminished because there all the luminaries of heaven wane and go down. And the fourth quarter, named the north, is divided into 3 parts. The first of them is for the dwelling of men. The second contains a sea of water, and the abyss or the deep, and the forests and the rivers, and darkness and clouds. And the third part contains the garden of righteousness. I saw 7 high mountains, higher than all the mountains which are on the earth. And from here comes hoarfrost, and days, seasons, and years pass away. I saw 7 rivers on the earth larger than all the rivers. One of them coming from the west pours its waters into the great sea. And these 2 come from the north to the sea and pour their waters into the Erythraean Sea in the east. And the remaining 4 come out on the side of the north to their own sea, 2 of them to the Erythraean Sea, and 2 into the Great Sea. And some say they discharge themselves there into the desert. I saw 7 great islands in the sea and in the mainland, 2 in the mainland and 5 in the Great Sea. And the names of the sun are the following. The first, Osiris, I don't know, y'all. And the second, Thomas. I got that one at least. And the moon has 4 names. The first name is Asonja, or something to that effect. The second, Ebla, or Ibla. The third, Banasi, probably. And the fourth, Iria, something to that effect. These are the 2. I have no idea what these names mean offhand. Okay, well, that makes me feel better, as usual. These are the 2 great luminaries. Actually, hold on. We shouldn't just blow by. Let's take 2 seconds to see something real quick. Let's see if there is even hope in trying to pull something here. Looks like the first one out of verse 1 and 78. Orjares, I don't know. I'll put the spelling in here in case anybody cares. Orjeres. That one. Looks like the specific term doesn't appear in the standard translation of First Enoch. Possible misspelling or mistranslation. Yeah, that's all I got. So, nothing. Let's try the one for the moon. Just out of curiosity. Also does not appear in the standard translation of the Book of Enoch. Could be referring to a specific passage, a name, or a concept. A possible mistranslation.
What do they mean by this standard translation?
Interesting. So the standard translation, I believe, was I don't think it was in English. Hold on. The standard English version. Oh, shoot, I just had it. So here, I'll put it in here. I believe this is what they're talking about. I believe that translation is referred to as the widely accepted standard version of First Enoch. And so a lot of the biblical databases, from what I understand, will primarily pull from that if you're an English speaker. Hey, Graves. So I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So for both of those names, the databases are saying that. It's not, I mean, essentially AI is saying that they don't exist.
So what? Is this the Charles translation
This
that you're reading from?
This is, yeah, I believe.
So is he just getting real creative? Like, what's going on?
That's what I wonder. I mean, I would assume not, but because there are several like translations from, I don't know. I guess it could be a couple things. If he speaks other languages and used a different, like a non-English translation, maybe they had it, or maybe he was pulling from, I guess, any different translation. I guess really all it tells us is that he's not pulling it from the standard English translation. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. You know, it's like, it's not that he's not pulling it from the original text. It's that he's not pulling it from the standard English text. I don't know. That'd be something like probably worth looking into out of curiosity to see why there's a discrepancy there. Ebla, the same thing. So Ebla does not appear in the standard translation of the Book of Enoch. However, Ebla is an ancient city in modern-day Syria, known for its large archive of clay tablets dating back to around 2500 to 2250 BC. These tablets contain one of the earliest known written Semitic languages and references to biblical era, places, and deities. This is really interesting. This is something I'm curious about now. What was another name here? Tomas was another one.
Never even heard of these names, so like I
Right.
have no clue.
Right. Yeah. It looks like you're out. Blah, 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 blah. Does not appear. It does not appear in the standard translation of Enoch. Very interesting, huh? If I grab a few minutes at some point and remember, I'll look into it because I'm kind of curious. I'm sure it's something innocent.
Yeah.
Interesting. Jeremy Gates. Hey, y'all. All right. Well, that's why it's worth taking a second and looking. Because now I feel like that's a whole thing that is probably worth looking into. These names don't appear in the standard English translation of Enoch. So either this guy added it, or this guy's using a translation that had it added, or the English translation failed to correctly, or failed to use the correct names. I don't know. I don't know if it matters that whole much, but I don't know if it matters that much. But interesting nonetheless. So let's see. We're in 78, talking about the names of the sun, the names of the moon, which started the whole rabbit hole. These are the two great luminaries. Their spheres or discs are like the sphere or disc of the heaven. And the size of the sphere or disc of both is alike. In the sphere of the sun, there are 7 portions of light which are added to it more than the moon. And in fixed measurements, it is transferred until the 7th portion of the sun is exhausted. And they set and enter the doors of the west, and make their revolution by the north, and come out through the eastern doors on the face of heaven. And when the moon rises, 1/14th part appears in heaven. And on the 14th day, the moon's light becomes full. And 15 parts of light are transferred to her until the 15th day, when her light is full, according to the sign of the year. And she becomes 15 parts, and the moon grows by an additional 14 parts. And as the moon's waning decreases on the first day to 14 parts of her light, on the second to 13 parts of light, on the third to 12, on the fourth to 11, on the fifth to 10, on the 6th to 9, on the 7th to 8, on the 8th to 7, on the 9th to 6, on the 10th to 5, on the 11th to 4, and then it just goes on and on like this for a minute. All her remaining light disappears wholly on the 15th day. And in certain months, the month has 29 days, and once 28. What are you doing? She's stuck? Gotcha. And Uriel showed me another law, when light is transferred to the moon, and on which side it is transferred to her by the sun. During all the period during which, weird sentences, man. During all the period during which the moon is growing in her light, she is transferring it to herself when opposite to the sun during 14 days, her light is full in heaven. And when she is ablaze throughout, her light is full in heaven. And on the first day, she is called the new moon, for on that day, the light rises on her. She becomes full moon exactly on the day when the sun sets in the west, and from the east she rises at night, and the moon shines the whole night through until the sun rises over against her, and the moon is seen over against the sun. On the side whence the light of the moon comes out, there again she wanes until all the light vanishes, and all the days of the month are at an end. And her sphere is empty, void of light. In 3 months she makes 30 days, and at her time she makes 3 months of 29 days each, in which she accomplishes her waning in the first period of time, and the first door for 177 days. And in the time of her going out, she appears for 3 months, consisting of 30 days each, and she appears for 3 months, consisting of 29 days each. By night she looks like a man for 20 days each time, and by day she appears like heaven, and there is nothing else in her save her light. By night she looks like a man for 20 days each time. Huh. Ghost said, I'm just picturing Neil deGrasse Tyson being really mad, being really mad about these verses.
Don't bring him up in a holy space.
And yeah, Neil Tyson has gone so downhill over the past 5 years, I guess. 79. And now, my son, Methuselah, I have shown you everything, and the law of all the stars of heaven is completed. Thank God. And he showed me all the laws of these for every day, and for every season, of every rule, and for every year, and for its going out, and for the order prescribed to it every month and every week. And the waning of the moon, which takes place in the sixth door, for in this sixth door, her light is accomplished. And after that, there is the beginning of the waning. And the waning which takes place in the first door in its season, until 177 days are accomplished, calculated according to weeks, 25 weeks, and 2 days. She falls behind the sun and the order of the stars exactly 5 days in the course of one period. And when this place, which you see has been traversed. Such is the picture and sketch of every luminary which Uriel the archangel, who is their leader, showed to me. There is an author's note, which says, for more information on the storehouses of heaven, the stars, gates, and luminaries, see the second book of Enoch. And in those days, the angel Uriel answered and said to me, behold, I have shown you everything, Enoch. And I have revealed everything to you, that you should see this sun and this moon, and the leaders of the stars of heaven, and all those who turn them, their tasks and times and departures. And in the days of the sinners, the years shall be shortened, and their seed shall be tardy on brightly, Skipped a page, sorry. And their seed shall be tardy on their lands and fields, and all things on the earth shall alter, and shall not appear in their time. And the rain shall be kept back, and heaven shall withhold it. Oh, God. And in those times, the fruits of the earth shall be backward, and shall not grow in their time. And the fruits of the trees shall be withheld in their time. And the moon shall alter her customs, and not appear at her time. And in those days the sun shall be seen, and he shall journey in the evening on the extremity of the great chariot in the west, and shall shine more brightly than accords with the order of light. And many rulers of the stars shall transgress their customary order, and these shall alter their orbits and tasks, and not appear at the seasons prescribed to them. And the whole order of the stars shall be concealed from the sinners, and the thoughts of those on the earth shall err concerning them. And they shall be altered from all their ways. They shall err and take them to be gods. Romans 1:18 says, the wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of man who suppress the truth by their wickedness. Since what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that men are without excuse. For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God, nor gave thanks to him, but their thinking became futile, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools, and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like the mortal man, and birds and animals and reptiles. Therefore, God gave them over to their sinful desires of their heart, to sexual impurity, for their degrading of their bodies with one another. They exchanged the truth of God for a lie, and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Amen. Because of this, God gave them over to shameful lusts. Even their women exchanged natural relations for unnatural ones. In the same way, the men also abandoned natural relations with women, and were inflamed with lust for one another. Men committed indecent acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty for their perversion. And there's an author's note which says, recall that many people of the time believed the stars to be angels. They worship the stars, believing them to have power to control fate. The scripture above tells us that God was angry because men had taken to the worship of the things God created and had forsaken the worship of He who created those things. As an added note, we are told in other ancient texts that angels had begun taking men as lovers as well as females. Angels are always considered male in these texts. I totally agree with this. Go said those verses in Romans, those Roman verses are so good. The pattern is ubiquitous. I agree entirely. Yes. I am not even going to try to read that comment, but it is good to see you, my friend or friends. I think you're plural, aren't you? Aren't there a number of you in the coven? Oh, and then there's one more verse before the chapter ends. That verse says, and evil shall be multiplied on them, and punishment shall come on them, so as to destroy all. Chapter 81. And he said to me, Enoch, look at these heavenly tablets and read what is written on them, and mark every individual fact. And I looked at the heavenly tablets and read everything which was written on it, and understood everything, and read the book of all the deeds of mankind, and of all the children of flesh, that shall be on the earth to the end of the generations. And I bless the great Lord, the King of glory, forever, in that he has made all the works of the world. And I exalted the Lord because of his patience, and blessed him because of the children of men, or the sons of Abraham. They've got in brackets there. And then I said, blessed is the man who dies in righteousness and goodness, concerning whom there is no book of unrighteousness written, and against whom no day of judgment shall be found. Jeremy said, worship of creation rather than our creator is one of the most vile things I've ever witnessed. I could not agree with you more. Everybody says this, like every generation says this, but I feel like we have many, many, many examples of this today, specifically in American or Western culture, where a lot of stuff is been lifted up and been worshipped and become religious in a sense, the tangible items in many cases. And we've lost sight of that which is at the end of it all. We live in a world of very short-sighted people. And it's actually really silly when you think about it. When you really think about it, the things that most people worship, even many, many, many Christians worship the things in front of their face, not the thing that produced the things in front of their face, or the thing that produced something many, many years ago that over time has developed and evolved into the thing in front of their face. They get very stuck on the thing that is in front of their face, and it's very sad. Are those words translatable? That's actually a good question. Hold on. I will carefully do this somewhere private. Let us see. Okay, they are translatable, yes. And if it is appropriate, I will read it. Interesting. Okay, so what they said was, we forgot you, and we are grateful that you have forgotten us. There is no magic here. We are happy to see you again. What is this? This is Scottish. Interesting. I guess like that's on brand. Makes sense. Checks out. It's good to see you. Good to see you, our friends. Few animals are ubiquitous in your household, David. That's valid. Okay, verse 4. And then I said, blessed is the man who dies in righteousness and goodness, concerning whom there is no book of unrighteousness written, and against whom no day of judgment shall be found. And the 7 holy ones brought me and placed me on the earth before the door of my house, and said to me, declare everything to your son Methuselah, and show to all your children that no flesh is righteous in the sight of the Lord, for he is their creator. The Scots, yeah. It's I think it's Gaelic, right? That's how you say that. That's what language that was. So says the internet, you know. I don't know, but that's what the internet says. For 1 year, we will leave you with your son until you give your last commands, that you may teach your children and record it for them, and testify to all your children. And in the 2nd year, they shall take you from their midst. Let your heart be strong, for the good shall proclaim righteousness to the good. The righteous shall rejoice with the righteous, and shall wish one another well. But the sinners shall die with the sinners, and the apostates shall go down with apostate. And those who practice unrighteousness shall die on account of the deeds of men, and be taken away on account of the deeds of godless. And in those days they finished speaking to me, and I came to my people, blessing the Lord of the world. Didn't Tolkien use Gaelic as a template for his Elvish language? That sounds really familiar. That sounds really familiar. I think so. I think so. I want to know, though. Hold on. I think you're right, though. So, influenced by. Influenced by. The primary influence, though, came from Kenya? I don't know how to say this. That's one of them. And Sindarin? I'm ignorant to both of these. Looks like Finnish and Welsh were the primary, but Gaelic was an influence. Who says we don't learn stuff? We just learned useful knowledge. I thought you were right. That sounded really familiar. And I guess it's partially right. I've never seen Lord of the Rings. Ever. I've meant to watch it many times over the years, but I've
never seen Lord of the Rings?
No, dude. Like, I always get crap because of my World of Warcraft days in the past, but no, I just never did. I wasn't into it when I was a kid.
Probably shouldn't say that online.
I know, but everybody already hates me anyway, so it can't really get any worse. I should have watched it at some point, but I wasn't into it as a kid. I didn't like the dragons and any of that crap until later. I was like very Star Wars, so all the original Star Wars was a big fan. And then I disappeared for a long time from everything, basically. And then I just never got around to it. Yeah. I need to watch it. It's how many originals were there? Like, is it like Star Wars where there's a number? Is it just one? The Lord of the Rings.
There's 3 books. Well, there's a lot of books, but in that trilogy, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, there's 3 books and 3 movies. So
are they all worth it, or did they get bad?
No, they hold up, man.
Okay. I'll watch it because I'm trying to. Kat and I just never watch TV, but I really want her to watch Game of Thrones because I watched that and that was really good. It was very well done. So maybe I'll force her to watch Lord of the Rings with me.
I mean, you can get through Lord of the Rings in 12 hours, but Game of Thrones, that's a whole thing.
Yeah, fair. That's true. That's fair. So maybe Lord of the Rings first. Yeah, every time it comes up, I'm like, dang, I really should watch that. I just never did. Grave said, get some popcorn. Oh, I can't read that one. Lord of the Rings is dense with lore and atmosphere. Hey, Patricia. I'll watch it. I'll have Kat watch that with me first, because Ghost is right. The Game of Thrones is a long commitment. And Lord of the Rings, not so much. Ruth said, I got my son the whole Lord of the Rings universe DVD pack. He is a nerd. I would rather have a nerdy kid than most other things. It is not a bad thing. Tampa said, I've never been into any of that stuff, but someone took me to see Lord of the Rings on a date. It was a really good movie. Still can't believe how much I ended up liking it. At least you're honest. There are so many people who, if they thought they wouldn't like it and then they do it, even if they like it, they'll never admit it. And they'll like make themselves hate it. I hate that. I despise those people. That shows emotional intelligence. And that's a very, very good thing. And I'm not going to read those comments either. All right, chapter 82. Yeah, 82. And now, my son Methuselah, all these things I am recounting to you and writing down for you, exclamatory. And I have revealed to you everything and given you books concerning all these. So my son, Methuselah, preserve the books from your father's hand and see that you deliver them to the generations of the world. What a heavy burden. I have given wisdom to you and your children and those children to come, that they may give it to their children for generations. This wisdom, namely, that passes their understanding. And those who understand it shall not sleep, but shall listen that they may learn this wisdom. And it shall please those that eat thereof better than good food. Blessed are all the righteous, blessed are all those who walk in the way of righteousness and sin not as the sinners, in numbering of all their days in which the sun traverses heaven, entering into and departing from the doors for 30 days with the heads of thousands of the order of the stars, together with the four which are within the calendar, which divide the four portions of the year, which lead them and enter with them 4 days. That was a wild run-on sentence. Goodness. There is an author's note. It says, it is verse 4 that leads some to believe the week should begin on Wednesday, the fourth day of the week. The verse is unclear and seems to point more to the fact that there are 4 seasons and the divisions of time. The divisions of time was created on the 4th day. All Hebrew calendars had the same week and began on Sunday, the first day of the week, no matter what the name of the day was at that time or in that tongue. Interesting. The seasons thing makes more sense to me. Huh.
Yeah, I think the seasons thing makes more sense. I think some people just dig down a little too deep and they start seeing things that aren't there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Ritza, I'm very proud of my son. He's a nerd when it comes to the Lord of the Rings and a blossoming sportsman. Nice. Good for him. That's a good mix. A sportsman who can get down with stuff like the Lord of the Rings. It's a good mix. Now, you just need to get him to play World of Warcraft. Otherwise, he's not a real nerd. That is a rite of passage, in my opinion. But I'm also like, I don't count. I'm sure there's better games by now. I just refuse to acknowledge it. Genesis 1:14. And God said, let there be light in the expanse of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark seasons and days and years, and let them be lights in the expanse of the sky to give light on the earth. And it was so. God made 2 great lights, the greater light to govern the day and the lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars. God set them in the expanse of the sky to give light on the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the 4th day. He's too busy to play video games. I totally get it. I would kill to be able to just sit for a handful of hours and zone out in front of a computer. I totally get it. Good for him. He's probably doing important things. Hopefully. Patricia said, enjoying this live with some tacos for dinner. That sounds really nice. Tacos. Yeah, that sounds real good, actually. Unfortunate you said that, because now that's what I would like. Owing to them, men shall be at fault, and not count them in the whole number of days of the year. Men shall be at fault, and not recognize them accurately. for they belong to the calculations of the year and are truly recorded therein forever. One in the first door, and one in the third, and one in the fourth door, and one in the sixth. And the year is completed in 364 days. And that is not a nutritiously balanced meal. CSC. That you need other stuff. I suppose that's okay, in addition to other stuff. He has 2 jobs, yeah. I can relate. It's good, though. It's a good thing. I'm sure he's doing well for himself. And that's what matters. Just not forever. Build a life. Build a life and then enjoy the life. That's how I see it. Verse 7. And the account of it is accurate, and the recorded counting thereof is exact. For the luminaries and months and festivals, and years and days has Uriel shown and revealed to me, to whom the Lord of the whole creation of the world hath subjected the host of heaven. And he has power over night and day in heaven to cause the light to shine on men via the sun, moon, and stars, and all the powers of the heaven, which revolve in their circular chariots. And these are the orders of the stars, which set in their place and in their seasons and festivals and months. And these are the names of those who lead them, who watch that they enter their times and in their roles, in their season, in their months, in their periods of dominion, and in their positions. There are 4 leaders who divide the 4 parts of the year enter first, and after them the 12 leaders of the orders who divide the months. And for the 360 days, there are heads over thousands who divide the days. And for the 4 days in the calendar, there are leaders which divide the 4 parts of the year. And these heads over thousands are interspersed between leader and leader, each behind a station, but their leaders make the division. You're lovely. I know you'll make me tacos anytime. I know that. But we're not prepared for me to have them right now. And that's what's bothering me. And these are the names of the leaders who divide the 4 parts of the year, which are ordained. Michael, I don't know. That's the word. If for some reason you care, these are all terrible. These are all terrible. The second name, Helimelech, and Melehiel, and Nariel. And the names of those who lead them are equally as ridiculous. Adonariel, and Ejusa. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I'm not trying the last 2. I look like an ass enough. Allegorical way of describing time. Imagine if we personified each second, minute, and hour on a clock. It'd be a lot. I didn't even see that. It does kind of look like Mikkel. This is Mikkel's Enoch name. This is his a pantheon. Yeah. That's a good point. All right, besides the names. So how many were there though? So you have 3, and then the names of those who lead them is another 3. All right, these 3 follow the leaders of the orders, and there is one that follows the 3 leaders of the orders, which follow those leaders of stations that divide the 4 parts of the year. In the beginning of the year, Melchizedek rises first and rules, who is named Tamaani, I don't know. And the sun and all the days of his dominion while he bears rule are 91 days. And these are the signs of the days which are to be seen on earth in the days of his dominion. Sweat and heat and calms, and all tree bears fruit, and leaves are produced on all the trees, and the harvest of wheat, and the rose flowers, and all the flowers which come out in the field. But the trees of the winter season become withered. Earth are gathered in, and everything that is in the fields and in the winepress. These things take place in the days of his dominion. Leaders of the orders are named second, minute, and hour. Yeah, I didn't really read a lot into that. Hold on. I'm gonna have to pull it after. I didn't really read a lot into that, but I see. I think
Just speculating.
Yeah, no, but it's interesting though. I didn't. That didn't even remotely cross my mind. It's interesting. Yeah. Patricia, I'm with
It's
you.
like he's describing a clock, but I mean, I'm not sure.
It is, like, in a sense. I see what you're saying for sure. Were the seasons not a leader too? Patricia said. Or was that separate?
Well, I think the seasons are the clock. The seasons are divided by 4, or divided into 4.
And the leaders are within.
Yeah, it's kind of just like, I say it all the time. It's like nesting dolls. It's like you have a president, and then you have governors, and then you have mayors, and it's just like,
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense to me. Yeah, that's I have to like think and try to process that more, but I definitely see what you're saying. Yeah, interesting. All right, now I totally lost myself. The signs of the days, rose flower, K, 17. And the next leader after him, with a ridiculous name, Helimelech. It's the best we got. Whom one names the shining sun, and all the days of his light are 91 days. And these are the signs of his days on the earth, glowing heat and dryness. And the trees ripen their fruits and produce all their fruits ripe and ready. And the sheep pair and become pregnant, and all the fruits of all the earth are gathered in. And everything that is in the fields and the winepress, these things take place in the days of his dominion. These are the names and the orders and the leaders of those heads. So now, fractal. Heads of thousands. Gidalasheba, Hiel, and the name of the head of 1,000, which is added to them, Asphael, something like that. And the days of his dominion are at an end. There is an author's note. The seasons are 91 days each. There are 4 seasons. The year is 91 by 4, or 364 days. We are warned to calculate the years correctly in order to celebrate the holy days on the days they were meant to be honored. Descriptions of the seasons are given along with the angels that control them. 364. Yeah, that's what they give all throughout. The Book of Visions will be chapters 83 through 90. And that begins right now. And now, my son Methuselah, I will show you all my visions which I have seen, recounting them before you. I saw 2 visions before I got married or took a wife, and the one was quite unlike the other. The first when I was learning to write. The second before I married or took your mother, was when I saw a terrible vision. And regarding them, I prayed to the Lord. I had laid down in the house of my grandfather, Mahalalel, when I saw in a vision how heaven collapsed and was carried off or removed or torn down and fell to the earth. And when I fell to the earth, I saw how the earth was swallowed up in a great abyss, and the mountains were suspended on mountains, and the hills sank down on hills, and the high trees were ripped from their stems and hurled down and sunk in the abyss. And then a word fell into my mouth, and I lifted up my voice to cry aloud and said, the earth is destroyed. And my grandfather, Mahalalel, woke me up as I lay near him and said to me, why do you cry so, my son? And why do you make such moaning or lamentation? And I recounted to him the whole vision which I had seen. And he said to me, you have seen a terrible thing, my son. Your dream or vision is of a grave time and concerns and secrets of all the sin of the earth. It must sink into the abyss and be totally destroyed. And now, my son, arise and pray to the Lord of glory, since you are a believer, that a remnant may remain on the earth, and that he may not destroy the whole earth. My son, from heaven all this will come on the earth, and on the earth there will be great destruction. After that I arose and prayed and implored and besought God, and wrote down my prayer for the generations of the world. And I will show everything to you, my son Methuselah. And when I had gone out below and seen the heaven, and the sun rising in the east, and the moon setting in the west, and a few stars, and the whole earth, and everything as he had known it in the beginning, then I blessed the Lord of judgment, and exalted him, because he had made the sun to go out from the windows of the east, and he ascended and rose the face of heaven, and set out and kept traversing the path shown to it. And there is an author's note, which says, this first vision would seem to foreshadow the flood. But since the vision was of a piece of heaven breaking off and falling to the earth with destructive force, it may be an end-time prophecy of a meteor strike. Another more timely interpretation is that of Satan falling to earth, which is the beginning of sorrow. Ghost said ancient calendars are a massive rabbit hole, Patricia. 364 by 12 equals 3033. There it is. There it is. We still have to watch that last one.
Yeah, it's the best one.
Yeah, we gotta watch that. I gotta try to make that happen before the baby comes. Is that different than this calendar? No, that is this calendar. That is this one. So this is the 364, and he's dividing it by season and getting 33. And I don't, Patricia, you weren't here, but do you know about, I'm sure Ghost can fill you in at a later time, but
I think I might have sent her some stuff.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, yeah, definitely watch those, Patricia, if you haven't. And then we will watch the third one together. I will make it happen before the baby comes and life gets even crazier than it is. Because they were really good. I am the biggest skeptic ever, and I hate end times talk. I despise it. But they were super interesting. They were captivating. It was very well done. I said I know that Jews follow a different calendar. Right? What?
I think there's a couple calendars and that they disagree on. So there's like an Orthodox calendar, and then there's like one or two other ones maybe, but I'm not an expert on that.
So the traditional Hebrew calendar, lunisolar, I know about that. So there's also a Dead Sea calendar, which was used by a Jewish sect at Qumran, which is where a lot of that stuff was found. That's a 364-day calendar. The traditional Hebrew is 12 months with a 13th leap month. There is another rabbinic calendar. Yeah, there's a handful. The ancient biblical calendar they've got based on lunar cycles. The rabbinic versus the secular civil calendar. The standard Hebrew Bible is used for religious purposes, primarily tradition. Israel also uses the Gregorian calendar for civil matters. So they have a religious calendar that they use based on old texts and tradition, seemingly. But Israel uses the Gregorian calendar for civil matters, so they can be on track with the rest of the world. It is interesting, though, yeah.
I went down a pretty big calendar ancient calendar rabbit hole several years ago, and I kind of speculated that. I mean, I don't know how true this is, but it's a cool idea. I kind of speculated that before the flood, before we had a wobble, there were 13 months of 28 days, and it was perfect 360. And then when the
Mm.
flood happened, it added days because our spin slowed down slightly, and that's what gave us this weird compensation that we have to do.
And you,
And then it got me thinking of the beast thinking to change times and laws spoken of in Daniel, and I'm like, that would change times and laws.
yeah, that's what I was just going to ask, is what do you think that affects, or what do you think affected that? But yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, rotation was perfect.
Huh.
It's speculative. It was perfect. We had no seasons. It was all just kind of uniform. And then when that happened, we wobbled. Whatever caused it, I don't know, but whatever caused it, it made us wobble. And then we had to start compensating and coming up with all kinds of different calendars, etc.
And do you think the goal of that is just confusion, or is there something more substantial? I mean, confusion is pretty substantial, but
I mean, yeah, I guess that would be maybe confusion is just a byproduct of it. Like, I don't know what the goal was,
Hmm.
honestly, but it does make people in the future, it makes prophecy kind of impossible to judge because of that. Because there's so many different calendars now, it's hard to make a determination either way.
yeah, I mean it would be an interesting, like, an answer to why that's also messed up. That perhaps it was all very clear in the beginning of all the end times and the prophecy and everything, and then it all got turned around. Do you think anything, or do you have electromagnetism? Is that involved at all in the theory?
Yeah, I mean, I think our field got weaker
Okay.
after the flood, and I think it's been getting weaker periodically ever since.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I think if it was like a meteor, I don't know what exactly caused it, but we started wobbling. So, and I don't think we always did.
That's interesting. It's something I've never thought about. But it would be an interesting answer to why everything got so messy. Even I'm probably for a dozen things, but for the prophecy thing at least, it's an interesting answer to that. Very
Yeah, I was
interesting.
trying to come up with answers for it, and I guess that makes sense, but like, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good answer though. Like, of all the garbage you hear or all the weird theories, like that's kind of a potentially pretty reasonable theory.
Because
Yeah,
if everything was good in the creation and there was like this uniform order,
right.
I don't think a procession and a wobble and all that would be part of that order. So it must have came during the flood or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I totally. It's interesting. It's interesting. It's a good answer, and it's not woo woo. It's like a pretty
If the
legitimate
planet
sounding.
cracked open, that would that would completely throw us off.
Right, and I think it's when you put it like you just put it a second ago in terms of order, it's an even better answer, because I feel like, and always being the cynic, I'm like, okay, well that's like a really easy cop out, to get out of it. But when you consider more in depth about order and how much the Bible pushes order, it makes it much less of a cop out sounding answer and much more of just a flat out potential answer, like a pretty reasonable level answer.
Yeah, I really do think it's plausible. Whether it's true or not, I'm not sure, but the plausibility seems to be pretty solid.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That's super interesting. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. We are going to stop though. I got to go spend some time with the girls before wildness begins again. And we're at a good stopping point too. So 84 is where we'll pick up tonight. As soon as we get off, I'll do the poll for Tuesday. If there's anything that anybody wants specifically on the poll, I'll drag a few from previous weeks that didn't make it, and then I'll probably pick a random one off the list. But if there's something you specifically want, just shoot it in off topic and tag me or whatever, and I'll put it in there. I'll do that right when we're done here. And then Saturday, as of now, it should be good for the Gospel of Judas, which is very, very good. Very good. Like the Gospel of Thomas, it's, if you've never read these things and all you've read is the canon, there are parts that will just kind of blow your mind and are extremely interesting. And at least it's new and different. So hopefully, if nothing changes, Saturday would be good for that at 7 Central Time, and then everything else is normal from there. But I'll get the poll up as soon as we jump off here. If anybody has anything, quickly throw it out. We'll hang out, and then I am out. David is the man. Yeah, do the YouTube stuff, y'all. Philosophy talk. Yes, done. I'll put like intro to philosophy, or is there something specific within philosophy that you want to talk about? I love philosophy, so whatever you guys want to talk about, I'm in. Big fan.
Maybe see if you can, like, I don't know, touch on the history of philosophy, maybe, or just like a 101 type of deal, so we can build off of it and maybe start talking about different philosophies later.
That's what I was thinking, like a 101. Yeah. So maybe we'll do a little bit of history and then kind of an intro too, and go from there. Yeah, good idea. So I'll put that on there. I'm totally game for that. Love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Because I have a difficult time differentiating philosophy and religion, so maybe I'll have my mind changed or something.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. The philosophy versus theology thing, when you boil everything down, is hard. On its face, I think there are a lot of differences that seem clear, but the more you infinitely regress the conversation, which is like the entire basis behind philosophy is infinite regression, I feel like they become very indistinguishable almost in many cases.
It seems like terminology might be the only difference, because if you're looking at the pattern of it all, I mean, it's kind of the same, at least in my opinion.
No, I totally agree. I think they're the same thing. They're the same thing. They sometimes come with different emotion a lot of the time. But if you watch like really long theology debates and then really long theology debates, they all converge to the same point in almost every situation. It's almost comical a lot of the time, because I think they're the same thing for the most part. They're the same thing. But we'll do that. That'd be good. So I'll put that on there, and then I'll throw another 1 or 2 or something on there, just in case. But I'm down for that. That sounds fun. All right, y'all. I'm out. I'm going to go eat and hang out with the girls. Ghost, have a good night.
All right, later, guys.
Later. Love y'all. That is a lot of emojis, Cat. Many emojis. Too many emojis. Night, Ruth.